Hello, 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 and welcome back. Welcome back. This is Dr. Dwayne Wood here on this channel. I am educating, I am empowering, and I am encouraging you. Tonight we're talking about type 1 diabetes, and we are on day number 3 of our trek through diabetes. This is Diabetes Awareness Month, and I am so happy that you are here with me. Yeah, I know it's you're getting ready to turn into day number 4, but we're gonna get through this here really quickly. Type 1 diabetes. Last time we talked about the various types of diabetes that are out there. We didn't cover all of them, but most of them. And tonight we're going to go through and talk about type 1 diabetes. And type 1 diabetes is a disease that can be a bit, I guess, kind of left out in the wind, if you will, because everybody right now is talking about type 2 diabetes in the pandemic, that word that we're using to describe it. And so sometimes type 1 diabetes, because it's not as prevalent, seems almost like it's an afterthought, but it is a very significant disease. In fact, about 5 to 10% of those people who have diabetes, of those 37 million, are type 1 diabetics. And we believe that type 1 diabetes occurs, once again, remember, it is a disease that occurs because there is a deficiency in insulin, whereas type 2 is ineffective insulin. So we believe that in type 1 diabetes, and it occurs a lot in children, or most of it occurs in children. We used to call it juvenile diabetes, but we no longer use that term. We have gone to type 1 because we used to say juvenile diabetes or adult onset diabetes. We know you no longer use those terms, but traditionally it was a disease that occurred in children. We think that there is an autoimmune component, and autoimmune diseases, if you remember, these are diseases where the body is fighting against itself. So for some reason, the body has developed what we call antibodies, and those are now attacking the body itself and causing problems. And this is what we believe happens in type 1 diabetes. We'll get a little bit more specific here in a minute. So the pancreas is the gland, the organ, if you will, that produces insulin, specifically in the beta cells of the pancreas. And these are the cells that get damaged. And the pancreas sits kind of right below the stomach, below the liver, next to the gallbladder, in the middle or center of the abdomen. And we believe that there's a genetic component that happens. So why do people develop type 1 diabetes? We think that there's a genetic, so family history, right? This is passed on from parents to children, grandparents, and so forth. So we believe that there's a predisposition, I guess let me use that term, predisposition to have type 1 diabetes. And then we think that something happens, something in the environment happens. I'll show you a graphic here in a minute to kind of bring that back home. We think something happens in the environment that causes some damage to those cells, and because of that, then these children become diabetic because they no longer have or sufficient insulin for them to be able to do what it is that the insulin needs to do. And remember, the insulin is the key that opens those cells, that gets the blood sugar into the cells, right? So let's run over to this graphic. And so this one kind of describes to you what we believe occurs in a patient who has type 1 diabetes. As I mentioned before, there is a genetic or family component, right? So there is a correlation. When we look at twins, for example, in a family, then people who have diabetes, if your twin has diabetes, then the likelihood of you developing diabetes goes up, right? So there's a familial component there, family history. And then we believe that there is some environmental thing that happens. And we believe that is perhaps someone gets an infection. And the culprit infection that we've talked about over the years has been Coxsackie virus. Coxsackie virus is a cold virus, and that causes some autoimmune process to begin happening in the body. So the body builds immunity or builds antibodies to the Coxsackie virus. And then those antibodies go on to cause damage to those cells in the pancreas. And we get what's called autoimmune insulitis. So those insulin cells, insulin produced cells, become inflamed. And when they become inflamed, then they go on to be destroyed. So we're getting now cell destruction. And because those cells are the cells that are the factory for the insulin, we now have insulin deficiency. And then that leads to type 1 diabetes when that insulin is no longer being produced. So that's the idea behind diabetes, type 1 diabetes, that we have a genetic component that's happening. That component is I guess coupled with some environmental insult. The virus causes damage, causes inflammation. Those cells are being destroyed, and because of that, there's not enough insulin that's being made, and from that, we then develop type 1 diabetes. And that's a nutshell, that's a thumbnail description of what type 1 diabetes is and how it comes about. Now, tonight we're gonna introduce an interesting component to the show that we're gonna be doing, and I talked to if you guys are out there watching, I talked to some friends today and they encouraged me to add this. So what I'm going to do is what I call, let me see if I can pull it up, pop this up. It's going to be called our amazing question wheel. Our amazing question wheel. So the amazing question wheel is this, and you'll see there on the screen, there are a bunch of questions on the wheel. We're going to spin the wheel. We're going to hit some question that comes up, and then I'm going to have to answer that question in 45 seconds. 45 seconds. Now, the reason I'm doing it in 45 seconds is because of this, right? I'm going to be using this component, this part of the show, to do a short. So you're going to see this out there. So you're seeing me create this as we go, right? So I'm going to answer the question. I've got to answer it 45 seconds because then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my answer and I'm going to put a piece of promotional video at the end of it, and that's what you're going to see. So you're seeing me create this live on the show. Let's see. We'll see how it goes, right? Because I've got all these little buttons here that I'm going to be using. All right, so let's see. Let's spin the wheel. Go ahead and spin the wheel. Boop. Hit. All right, let's see. Round and round and round and round and round and round and around it goes. Let's see. Where does it stop? Where does it stop? It says, how do I control my diabetes without medication? How do I control my diabetes without medication? Let's see. All right. You think I can do this? Okay, let's do it. So I'm gonna hit the button. You're gonna see the 45 seconds pop up on the screen. I'm gonna have to answer this question in 45 seconds, and then it's gonna move on. So if I'm still talking, it's moving on to another scene. You're gonna hear some music. So let's see if we can get that. So how do I control my diabetes without medication? Okay, and this is gonna actually be part of a show as we're coming up. But I'm gonna answer it here, and let's see how it goes. Okay, here we go. And hit the button. So in order to manage and control your diabetes without medication, there are a few things that you need to do. You need to remember that diabetes is an insulin issue, particularly as we talk about type 2 diabetes. So number one, we need to make sure that we are exercising. Number two, we need to make sure that we're controlling our diet, the amount of food that we're taking in, drinking enough water, and getting good rest. If we do those things, then we have a higher chance of controlling our blood sugars without medication and controlling our diabetes. It is not a complete sugar problem, right? It's an insulin issue. It's an insulin problem that we have to face. And if we do this, then we get to control diabetes without using medication. All right, let's see. Did I do it? Did I do it? I don't know. So my timer is down to 0, right? And it didn't move on to my scene. It was supposed to go back to this scene. Let's see. So there you see it, right? So and we'll see how that goes. So once again, I'm going to be doing these as we go. There are all these questions that we have on our wheel. We're going to be spinning it, and we're going to be answering those questions here live on the show. If you've got questions that you want us to answer for us to put on the wheel, go ahead and send those in. You can put them in the comments. You can send them to Dwayne Wood MD, dwood@dwaynewoodmd.com. And we will get those in and we will answer them. But tonight we talked about type 1 diabetes. I want you to make sure that you subscribe, like this video, send it to family, send it to friends, let them know what we're doing. We're going to be going through the entire month talking about diabetes in this Diabetes Awareness Month. If you want to make sure that you get the content, if you want to make sure that you are hearing and seeing all the things that we're doing, go to the channel. On the channel, you'll see the button that says subscribe. Now, when you subscribe, you're not paying for anything, right? So you create an account on YouTube. On YouTube, it's free. You don't have to pay for anything. And when you hit subscribe, all that does is it lets you know, or it puts you in my channel so that you are aware, you get notified of things that are coming up. Now, in order to get the notification, you've got to hit the bell also. So go to the channel, create an account, subscribe to my channel, and then hit the bell so that you get the notifications. There's no money, there's no funds involved. This is a free service. I here on this channel, I am in the process of building a community. And you see, if you go to our channel, you'll see all the educational material, all the encouragement material, all the motivational material that we're doing. So we got 3 words that we use. Okay, 3 words. In addition to being an endocrinologist, so that's what I do. I am an endocrinologist by training. But I say on the channel that I educate, I empower, and I encourage you to take charge of your health, your life, avoid complications, and go to the next level. So that's what I'm working on. That's what we're doing. That's what we're doing this month. And this month specifically, we're talking about diabetes, right? And you're going to see that as we go through the entire month. Thank you for being here. I am glad that you stopped by, and we're going to be doing more of this as we go through the month. Thank you for coming. Share this with your family and your friends, and we'll see you at the next video. Good night.